Welcome to another edition of the Mainly Football Podcast with me, Joe Cran, and Dean Furman. Dean, who have we got on today?
We have got Bongani Khumalo, and Joe, I'm particularly excited for Bongs because teammate of mine, 3 different dressing rooms I shared with him. He was my Bafana captain. I played with him in SuperSport, and I played with him at Doncaster Rovers in the UK. And knowing Bongs, I know there's stories that I know there's more to just Bongani Khumalo, the footballer. There's so much to learn about Bongs, and I'm really excited to kind of get under the skin with Bongs and really find out what happened on his path at the start of his career, going into the World Cup, moving to Europe. There's just so much to talk about, and I'm really excited to get him on today.
No, definitely. I think he's gonna have some stories to tell, and I think like you say, the interesting thing with Bongs is the way that he was sort of seen by the South African public, I think by players as well, from what I can gather. So I think it'll be really interesting to get it from the horse's mouth in terms of how that affected him, and how he sort of made it through that difficult period.
Yeah, his mental strength was amazing. I mean, to come back from serious knee injury midway through his career, to have some highs and lows, particularly in Europe, which he had to find serious mental strength, and the scrutiny of being a Bafana Bafana captain. So it'd be great to hear some of his stories and see how he came out the other side and ended up having a very, very successful career.
Exactly. So without further ado, onwards. Bongani Khumalo, thank you very, very much for joining us. Former teammate of Dean Furman's, Bafana Bafana captain in the past. How are you doing, Bongs? How's things going?
Good. Can't complain. It's good to see you guys. It's been a while. Yeah, man, just enjoying life after football, I suppose, and making the most of it. Still learning a whole lot, but yeah, definitely a happy man.
How long is it since you guys have spoken? Because obviously you spent a long time, playing together. Like, when was the last time you actually managed to catch up?
We had a bit of a chat. When was it? Like just before the season kicked off on this side. We had a bit of a chat in terms of what was happening and the way forward and so on. So I think that's probably the last time we touched base like properly. Obviously, at the back end of your career, there's a lot of decisions you need to make and things you need to set up for. So yeah.
I think what's great with me and Bongs is we've shared 3 dressing rooms together now, and as Bongs mentions, we're at similar stages of our career. Or Bongs has just hung up the boots, but we share similar experiences, and I think quite a similar mindset. And we realise where we are.
But you've come to terms with it now. It's done.
Exactly, yeah, but it's good to talk. It's good to talk with people in similar positions to you, because it almost sometimes gives you the reassurance that what you're doing is right. And knowing Bongs, whatever he goes into, he will be an absolute success. Because something that's not touched on enough is your career was a success. Let's just congratulate you on your career, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but 4 PSLs, 2 MTNs, Telcom, captain of Bafana, £1 million move to Tottenham Hotspur, numerous
scored at a World
Cup
as well, Europe, which isn't bad.
Scored at a World Cup, led your team to an AFCON, or in an AFCON, led your nation, sorry. I mean, have you actually taken stock of the career and how much of a success it was? I don't think you've been given the credit you deserve for a wonderful career. Do you ever feel that way?
I think now having made the decision to walk away, I'm just happy that I've managed to actually walk away, if you know what I mean. Like, I haven't been stretched off, I haven't been bullied out the game, I just decided, you know what, it's time, it's fine, my heart is at peace, and I need to move on to other things. In terms of the journey, I think at this point I think the only thing I've taken in is just gratitude. I don't feel like football owes me anything. I don't feel like anyone in football owes me anything. I'm grateful for all the experiences and the lessons that I've learned, which actually, have made me a man. So I take that and move forward to whatever life holds for me going forward. But again, I still haven't had the chance to actually take it all in, if I'm honest, because I had one meeting with Glenn, and there was no way forward with SuperSport, couldn't reach an agreement. I was like, okay, cool. I got home. The next day, 2 days later, I called him and said, you know what, actually, I'm done. I'm good. And for me, that's him. That's my communication towards him. But for me, I literally went home, laid on my bed, stared at the ceiling for an hour. An hour later, I decided to put like all my plans in motion. Get out the apartment, pack my shit up, be in Pretoria, be in one base, and the next day I was at the factory. I was at my work. I was at my work office, and then that's that's been my life ever since.
Was that quite a big thing for you then to end it on your terms? You know, end it when you wanted to end it, rather than sort of, you know, spending time waiting for your legs to give in or something like that.
It was very, very important. You know, there's a lot of things. You see, there's a lot of things, and I'm very reluctant to go on record to say these things, but it's almost like, you know, just because of the reputation I had within the game when I started. You know, I was a little bit of an anomaly because, you know, just the way I was treated and the things that people would say about me, like, Bongs, yeah, but you white, yeah, you got white friends, you come from a nice background, you don't really need football, you don't really, do you know what I mean? Like, when I made a mistake, my mistake was like 10 times worse than anyone else's. And that's because my own teammates at SuperSport at the time, and I'll say that, would say that about me, like during training, and there'll be remarks like that in the change room. So I had to work 3 times harder than anyone to earn any amount of respect going forward. And what I realized very, very soon was, yeah, work hard to earn the respect on the field, but off the field, there's also a certain perception as well. And I knew that should I be in trouble, you know, I don't think people would really help me because there'll always be this thing, model C, but you come from a good home, or you're rich or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? So I really knew from day one that this football thing, I really need to make it work, and I need to make it work properly. And I honestly need to be the best I can be, you know, to earn respect, number one. But on the second side of it, off the field, I really need to get my story together, because if I find myself in any sort of trouble, honestly, I don't think I'm the kind of guy that people would want to help, just because of the perception initially. So, you know, it was a challenge, but you know, I took it on, and it's something that I'll carry with me for as long, I suppose, for as long as I live. You know, now that the second phase has kicked in, now it's not about planning or hoping or wishing. It's literally about just getting it done, day in, day out, and life continues, man. You know, after there's a long life after the game.
Do you think that perception, especially when you were captain of the national team, do you think you unfairly treated in a way? Do you think you became a bit of a scapegoat? I mean, I've got to say, we all have our period where we become the scapegoat.
Yeah.
But do you feel that it came onto you unfairly? I remember around the AFCON, we went out on penalties. It's not like we went out to a 5-0 defeat. We went out on penalties.
Yeah.
Do you feel that
Yeah.
you were unfairly treated or became a bit of a scapegoat? Do you think that was also on the back of your move?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it unfair. I think obviously with the AFCON, you know, obviously I would have been in people's faces with all the interviews that I had to do around the time. Obviously, you know, I don't watch these things, to be honest with you, but I know for a fact every day there was an interview here, an interview there, and I suppose a lot of people would recognize me from that period as the captain, because I would have been on dozens of interviews. So I was the face. So obviously now, if there's a certain failure, you know, there's a face that would be attached to it, and that would have been mine. And I was okay with that. I didn't mind that at all. You know, it's just it's part and parcel of the job. It's part and parcel of the game. So you know, it was a tough one to take, but I took it on the chin and just moved on to the next challenge. But there's nothing about it that I took personally, or you know, like in a negative sense. I could have. I just decided not to. That's all.
Is that something you had to actually work on? You know, the ability to not take it personally, and is that something that you sort of had to actively choose? Right, I know people are saying this, but I'm not gonna pay attention to it.
Yeah, like I said, how I was sort of boxed in my first season in the PSL as a 20-year-old or whatever it was at the time.
So it started from the beginning, was it? Was it literally as soon as people heard you speak?
No, exactly. As soon as I did my first interview, it was just like, you know, and it was like, well, who's this guy? What is he? And then all sorts of things just came out about me, and you know, I just learned early on. I was like, okay, cool. So this is the treatment that I'm going to get. That's fine. And that's why I've never really been on social media. I've never really been public. I've always kept tight circle. You know, the friends that I have are friends that I've had since I was like 10 years old, and you know, those are the people that have remained with me and are still with me now. I mean, I'm in business with them now. You know, we're doing amazing things together, and I'm very blessed and grateful for that. But yeah, I don't even know where I got this from because I mean, at the time as well, obviously I was with my mom. My mom was still around, when I started, and she was a really, really strong woman, and it'd be very difficult. Like when she goes to work, she was a teacher. She was an English teacher in Mamelodi. So there comes the English. My mom's was an English teacher. Shock. So I got a lot of nasty comments and whatever it is, but I think I was very fortunate with her, and that she helped sort of calm me down. She's a very, very kind lady, and I think she helped control the anger and aggression and just kept me focused on what I had to do. I mean, people will always talk and say what they need to, and at the end of the day, I was a footballer, and that's all I wanted to do is just play.
So let's just touch on, you mentioned your mum, and a bit of your upbringing, your mum and dad, who sadly you've lost. Your mum died a year before the World Cup. How did that impact you? Did that drive you on? Did that give you that added source of motivation? I'm sure you didn't need that extra motivation, but how? I'm sure you were incredibly close. Did that really drive you on? I mean, I look at your celebration and the special goal you scored against France. I know you look up at the heavens. Is that something that was incredibly sentimental to you? That must have been a very special moment.
Yeah, incredibly so. There's a story to that. So, but I'll make it short. So, long story short, in '98, I would have been about around 11, 12. And my dad and I were watching the World Cup at our family home. And South Africa were playing France. And I remember him talking and saying, listen, I mean, if World Cup's every 4 years, like if we start saving up, don't you think we'll be able to possibly go to the next World Cup? Let's at least try and save. So that's where my financial education started. And then, like, oh yeah, let's save. So, sadly, he passed away in 2000. The year 2000, he passed away in April. And then life went on. But then 10 years later, I play in a World Cup in South Africa against France and score against France. So that's where that comes from. That's sort of like the beginning of it. But obviously the mere fact that like my mom literally passed away a week before the Confed Cup, I literally went to bury my mom and came back straight into camp again to finish off the Confed. And that was literally off the back of just having open conversations with her and just saying, look, well, she told me straight and just said, look, if, don't let my illness or me passing away be a reason for you not to succeed. Like, don't ever make that an excuse. I don't want you to walk around like you're a wounded animal your whole life because now you've lost your parents and stuff. Life goes on and you need to be strong and you have dreams, there's things that you want. And she was just very open to say, look, I want those things for you. And it's so scary how explicit she was and how clear she was. She painted the whole picture. She was literally like, listen, me, if I pass away here tonight, just get me, call the morgue. They must pick me up. I don't want any ambulance. I don't want any noise. She was like, 3 days. I want you to put me on the ground and I want you to move on with your life. And I want you to do whatever it is that you want to do. You want to go play in Europe? Go play in Europe. Whenever you're in South Africa, just come there to my grave, leave a couple of flowers, say, Mom, I'm here, and then go back. And it's the scariest thing that literally happened a year later because I found myself in England. But yeah, obviously those are quite, the background stories and the personal stories that not many people are aware about. So I would say that definitely did give me the juice to sort of, keep going. But it did catch up with me and unfortunately caught up with me in my first year in the UK. And that was, it was a very difficult time.
Let's talk about that. You say it caught up with you. What was it that sort of happened in the UK? Because obviously the move to Spurs didn't move out exactly how you'd hoped it would have done. What did you think was the sort of sticking point for you there?
I'm not one to make excuses in this, but I will admit I have, I've spent a lot of time, looking at the whole picture, step by step. I've questioned everyone and everything, why? And it's a difficult thing to swallow. I've been honest with myself and say that was a failure, and I'm okay with that. I've learned a lot of lessons from that move and the people that I met and the people that I was around. Obviously, my mom passed away a year before the Confed. I literally leave camp. Well, a week before the Confed, a year before the World Cup. I literally leave camp, bury my mother, come back into camp. After camp, I had trials at Maccabi Haifa, would you believe? So after camp, I literally leave, go to Maccabi Haifa for like a week, 10 days, or whatever it is. They're like, oh, sorry, not good enough. We're good. Send him back. I go back to South Africa. I literally call Gavin Hunt, and they started preseason. As I land back, they starting preseason. So we've won the league twice, and now we're going for the third time. I call Gavin. I'm like, listen, I'm like, coach, listen, a lot has happened. I just need a few days just to get my head straight. And I just need a week, and then I'll come back to training. He's like, yeah, fine. Yeah, take your week, take 10 days, and I'll see you when you come in. Took 10 days, sorted out the other stuff, family stuff, blah, 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 blah. Came back in, pre-season, and then boom, third season. But then remember that season was congested. It was very short. I think we finished in Feb or something. It was just league games and no cup, you know, because obviously they wanted to do those camps in Brazil and Germany. So you can imagine, I mean, straight after that, it's just like, hey, and at the time I was a captain as well. So now it's like, ooh, pushing for the third one, not everyone. After winning the second one, we knew we had a target on our backs, and people were talking, yep, SuperSport, just play long ball, blah, 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 whatever. We won it again. And then now the third time, now we're challenging again. We have a target on our backs, and it's challenging. So now my focus is fully on that. It's fine. We win that. And then now the next thing is now, well, try and get into the World Cup squad. Now you chase for that. You get into the World Cup squad, play the World Cup, finish the World Cup. You're trying to get to Europe. You go on trial, by the way. People think like I just played the World Cup and just got a nice contract. Like I literally went on trial. And then what people don't realize is my first few months at Spurs was actually a loan move, by the way. It wasn't a straight off signing. Well, I was actually on loan for 6 months. And then after 6 months did I sign, because I would have left. I left here. I literally landed on my birthday on the 6th of Jan, 2011. So I landed like midway through the season. And as I landed, they were like, yeah, cool, yeah, you got good potential, you know, you're raw. I mean, at the time, it was like SuperSport was calling me like, hey, can we get a TV crew to follow you? I was like, no chance, are you crazy? Freaking camera crew. And I remember the guy that was doing the show, he was actually upset with me, like, person. I'm like, my guy, listen, we may be friends, but this is like my career. This is a profession. I'm like, there's no reason I'm turning up there with cameras. Like, who the hell do I think I am? Like, no, man, calm down. Like, that's not going to happen. That's absolutely not going to happen. So, anyways, that on my birthday, blah, 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 you know, train. And they're like, yeah, well, we want to see what you're about. And at the time, there were a couple of loan moves to like higher up sort of championship teams and stuff like that. And I remember talking to Tim Sherwood. He's like, no, we don't want you to go there because that's easy. He's like, no, we want you there at the bottom so we can see whether you built of steel or not. So I ended up at Preston, North End, obviously the rock bottom. And wow, what a baptism of fire that was. Like, welcome to England.
The championship don't mess around, eh?
Boy, listen, the championship is tough enough. Wait until you freaking rock bottom. Oh my days. Yo.
So, sadly, that is something I can relate to far too much, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And sadly, I can relate to as well. I think we can all share a bit of that.
Yeah. So, but you know, I enjoyed it over there. I mean, what was it? Was it Brown? That remember that manager?
Phil Brown.
Yeah. He was a manager at the time. No, he was cool. He was very good. You know, I was having a good time there, and then I think the last 3 games or so, I turned to chase a ball down the channel and it snapped my foot metatarsal, and that was the end. But when I got back to Spurs, they're like, yeah, you've done enough, and we'll see. And then eventually I signed, and then, you know, the journey began. But again, starting that the next season on a back foot, literally when preseason starts, like I'm coming back from my metatarsal injury. In fact, with the preseason we had in South Africa in 2011, I legit played injured in that. Like I wasn't 100% fit, but I was like getting there slowly. And then obviously playing that preseason was, we go back, and then I get a loan move to Reading. And Reading was I just couldn't stay fit, honestly. Like I just couldn't stay fit. I played the first few games and it was tough. I mean, it was really, really tough. Results weren't coming, and next thing I was injured, and they got another centre back, and then once that guy plays, bye. And that was that. And that was the first 6 months. And then obviously the second year, then I had to leave England. Then I went to obviously Greece. I left England just so that, you know, people forget, because word spreads around if you struggled in that place. I was in Greece for a year, and then when I came back, Greece was all right. Greece was a good experience. Came back, we won the playoffs in Greece, which was quite nice. Came back, and that's when I came back and went on trial at Ipswich. And that deal was this close, and then last minute, bang. And then I ended up at Donny with Dean.
Yeah, I got to say, I was buzzing. I mean, before we touch on our time together at Doncaster, what I will say, and what people don't really understand is just how difficult it actually is. And what I always think people see is they see 3 o'clock on a Saturday or whenever kickoff is. They don't see what's going on in your personal life. They don't see the struggles, the injuries, the difficulties that you go through. They only want to see the perfect footballer on a Saturday. You're a centre-back. You should win every tackle, win every header, never give the ball away, and we should keep a clean sheet every game. But they don't see that there's so much more that goes to it. And thank you for sharing those kind of those intimate stories with us, because people just don't know. And when you play badly on a Saturday, absolutely, we're not looking for excuses, but there's always a backstory. And for you to share those intimate stories, and I mean, it just shows how mentally tough you had to be to overcome the difficulties and the path that you took. I mean, you've gone to Europe by yourself. You're suffering injuries. I'm sure at times it was incredibly lonely, and you made the most of it. So you mentioned the word failure before. I absolutely think the opposite. I mean, how many of us have been signed by Spurs for over £1 million? There's not many of us that can say that. I think it's a huge part of your career, which, yes, you didn't break into the first team at Spurs, but it was a success. You got signed by Tottenham Hotspur, one of the biggest clubs in the world. That in itself is a success story. So I don't think the word failure should be associated with you or your career at all. But yeah, those stories are amazing. It just shows what actually a footballer is going through. Apart from just being a footballer, we're humans. There is a human element to what we do. And then let's get on to a Brighton note, because you came to Doncaster, and I was so excited to hear you were coming when the manager Paul Dickoff asked me about you. I was absolutely raving. I was buzzing. I always remember your initiation. We played Charlton away the next day in the hotel. For those of you who don't know, generally in England, the initiation, you have to sing. You have to get up in front of everyone at dinner, your first overnight stay, and you have to sing a song. And I wasn't too sure what Bongs was going to hit us with, and he produced one of the South African songs that we sing in the dressing rooms.
Oh, you did you do Shosholoza on it? That's class.
Did a Shosholoza move. It's the easiest go-to, man.
And the boys were buzzing. Because, like...
I had a bit of a dance as well. Yeah,
he was dancing, he was singing. Unbelievable.
You wanted me to do it twice as well, because some guys weren't there. I was like, nah.
you were that good. They were like, no, some boys have missed this. We need to get it going again.
Yeah, no, do it again. We missed it. I was like, whoa, no. One time. That was good.
So I think, Donny, you found a bit of a home. I think you felt wanted. You were a massive part of the team. I think you, from our experience, I think it was a really good stage in your career in England. You were playing really well. You were playing every week. You were a starter. We were up against it, but I think that you really came into your own that season. You had a big season up to a point, which we'll get onto next. But did you enjoy your time there at Doncaster?
Definitely. And I'm starting to feel like, you know what, I'm getting used to the pace, the mentality, of the game. And I was honestly, I was really loving it. Like, I love the fight. I was loving the fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, till today, when I look at my career, the best moment I've ever had in football. Obviously, when you're about to win the league or you're about to win a trophy and it's like last 5 minutes and the whistle blows and you're like, wow, it's amazing. Won the league. It's fantastic. Cool. But for me, in England, that feeling for me came a lot more often, because every game you were fighting for your life. And I literally used to prepare for games and think, just survive until the 80th minute. Just stay in the game until the 80th minute, because that last 10 minutes of the game is just unbelievable. Like, I mean, like, it's a proper fight. I mean, if you're leading, you literally holding on for dear life. If you have a point, it's like, just get over the line. And for me, that was probably like the time I really, really enjoyed my football. Like, getting across the line in that league was really, really a good feeling. Like, I really enjoyed it. And obviously, the fans, the last 10 minutes, everything, the energy is up, the fucking, oh man, you really, you really, really fight for your life. And that's what I miss, if I'm honest. That's what I miss.
Being up against it when we won, we got that buzz even more, because we weren't winning we weren't necessarily winning. We weren't winning the league. We were a small team in the Championship, relatively speaking. We were always going to be up against it. I think what you're saying is when we won, those grabbing hold of those points against one of the so-called big boys was, I mean, beating Leicester at home in the season they
Leicester at
promoted.
home. Still today.
That
The
those kind
atmosphere
of
was
wins are
wild.
like incredible.
Yeah. Big.
Incredible.
So yeah, I missed that. I missed that competitive edge, man. Like, every day you knew, you'd have a challenge and you'd be in a fight, like in training. I think, yeah, that died. I'm not gonna lie, that died when I came back. I'm not gonna lie.
With that, because obviously that season was going so well for you, and then there was the Brazil game. I was at that Brazil game when you picked up that really bad injury, and I remember it happening on the pitch and going, "This is bad." You could tell at the time that it was a really bad one. Obviously, I don't want to downplay, but with how pivotal was that in your career? Not just in that season and how well it was going at Donny, but how pivotal was that moment in the sort of the way your career panned out afterwards?
I still say, so the thing is, I think a lot of people don't realize when I was signed, it's not like I was signed as a ready-made player or superstar. No, it was like I was pure raw talent, and it was like, listen, we can work with you, we can help you. Just understand it'll take time. Hence I signed a 4.5-year contract. I knew it was going to take time. That's why I didn't mind taking a step back to go forward and so on and so forth. And like I really felt at Donny, like I said, I was really, getting used to the culture and the intensity and the pace of everything, and just my environment. It became home. I got used to everything. And I honestly felt that next season I could try, hopefully go to another club, challenging, or maybe even try my luck at Spurs. You never know. But I honestly felt like I was in a much better position to challenge elsewhere, if that makes sense. And the next thing I knew, I was laying in Rosebank in a bed, and my kneecap was nowhere near where it's supposed to be. And from that moment, it was just, I don't know what to expect. I'll be honest. Like, there were times where I thought I'd never even kick a ball.
Did you think there was points when that was you done? You thought your career was over? I
literally got to a point where I was like, will I even be able to play in the garden with my kids one day? Like, that's where I was. That's how dark it was. It was, certain things there that I felt and I learned, and I was just like, wow. But then again, obviously once you start moving a little bit, there's a bit of hope, and you do a bit of physio, and I think it's just the sitting at home and doing nothing that really gets to you. Obviously, I had to fight my way back. It was literally Monday I was in the pool, Tuesday physio, Monday pool, and just alternate until like Saturday for like I think it was like a good 3 months. And then even my physio was like, you know what, you actually look worn out now. I literally went away, went on a bit of a holiday, a break for a week, and I came back. When I came back, it was the same thing, up until I got to a point where I could fly back. And, everyone at Spurs was amazing. But when I got to Spurs, it was literally just them, just basically getting the strength back and the gym and obviously the football part. I literally played my first reserve team game 8 months to the day. 8 months to the day, which was a miracle. And the funniest thing is the physio, David, he's such a cool guy. After I played my first game, he was like, mate, I didn't want to scare you, but I never thought you play football ever again. He's like, you're honestly not normal. Because when I played my first game, my heel still couldn't touch my, my bum, basically. Like, when I was doing like a quad stretch, my heel wouldn't touch my bum. Like, that's where I was. That took ages, but at least, obviously I'll get into a few tackles, and as you know, in England, they're very unforgiving with their tackling. So, and I'm a defender, there's no ways you can pull out. So I was involved in a few tackles that were like touch and go, where you get up and you like try and find your knee, you're like, oh, okay, I'm fine. But yeah, I managed to sort of keep going, and yeah. I'm very fortunate to have had years in the game post that, even though it wasn't at the level that I would have wanted it to be, but nonetheless, I'm very grateful. It was a second chance.
So it's amazing that you came back from that injury to play at still a very good level, because that injury has put a few to bed, so to speak. I think it was just really a time in your career where you were peaking, where your strength, your athleticism, your confidence was probably reaching, from my experience with you, probably reaching an all-time high.
Honestly, all-time high.
remember how gutted the team were when I went back, because you never came back with me. We went out together to play the Brazil game. Went back, I flew back alone. I remember the lads being absolutely gutted, and that shows you how important you were to us. So do you ever think you really regained that high level that you had kind of reached? Because it must have knocked you, and certainly in terms of your athleticism, I mean, the one thing for me that stands out is your leap. Your leap was incredible. Do you think, and your speed, do you think that was affected by this injury?
You know what? It's hard to say that it didn't, but I still felt good when I played. You know, I still felt good. I don't know what it looked like, you know, but it felt good because I had to do so much work around, like, you know, the games that I would have played and all of that. I mean, my real test, obviously, I mean, reserve team games are, you can't really judge. I mean, you make it through, you're fine. But there's nothing like that a competitive game to really test you out. And when I went on loan to, obviously, what was that beautiful club called again?
Colchester.
Colchester. I went to Colchester. Honestly, like, I went there. I remember going there and I was speaking to the guys. Hugo was the reserve team coach. He was literally like, nah, well, everyone was like, nah, mate, just yeah, they bottom of the league. They're probably gonna, they're gone. It was like, nah, they're gone. Just go there, show your stuff, and just prove that you're fit. Like, you know, you're strong again. I was like, okay, cool. But I told you, I was like, you know, as a challenge, I was like, you know what? And this is not me being big time. I was like, literally, as a challenge, I'm like, okay, look, I'm like, if I go there, they'll stay up. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. It's like, you know, I can't go there and be negative. I mean, how's that gonna help? So I was like, no, when I go there, if I go there, they'll stay up. Because at the time it hadn't been confirmed. Cool. He's like, I really don't think so. Long story short, when I came back, Hugo literally, and you know, may his soul rest in peace, was such a good guy. And we got along so well. He actually called me Chief. Because obviously I was so loud. We played in the reserves with the kids. So when I started playing all the reserve games, we started winning all our reserve team games. I started playing. So I became a bit of a cheat code. But honestly, there were some talented players, man. Like, obviously Winks was there as well. I mean, he was one of the star kid players, you know. And I remember at the time they used to make him, like, they used to come to him before training and just say, listen, make sure you just kick him to like try and get underneath his skin. Because he was a good footballer, but he didn't like tech. He didn't like the ugly side of the game, and that's what they're trying to teach him at the time. But honestly,
you were the enforcer for that. You're the one who tried to get him angry.
I tried, yeah, no, legit. Like, we'd be like a competitive, you know, like a little bit. And you come to me like, yeah, I don't understand why the coach is on my back. I'm like, my friend, they're trying to get you fucking street smart. Like, you gotta get clever. It's all nice playing pretty with the reserves, but competitive matches are very different, you know. But anyways. Yeah, I came back, and obviously stayed up. He literally looked at me. He was like, "Mate, you're not normal." I was like, "Wow, stayed up." You know, good for them. Oh well. So yeah, it was a nice little what, like 10 games last month. It was exciting, and the last game, Dean, how's this? The last game was actually against Preston North End. They had to win to earn promotion. We needed to win and hope 3 teams lose for us to stay up. 60th minute, we get a penalty and missed penalty 60th minute. Like, the game's tied. No. And I've never seen that stadium that packed, by the way, my whole time. It was absolutely rammed. And I'm pretty sure there were probably more Preston supporters than our Black home supporters. But it was like, yeah, I was actually surprised how much their way stand they were given. Does that make sense? Because normally you just be like the one section behind the goals. But they literally like almost half the stadium. I was like, but why? I don't understand. Like, why? So this doesn't mean like no one believes we can stay up here. They're just here to celebrate and beat these ones and then celebrate promotion. But anyways, we miss a penalty, play. I'm busy shouting at everyone, nah, forget about it, just play. We ended up winning that game, and guess what? 3 teams lost. We stayed up. And
I actually one of those where you run over and get live score up on your phone or whatever it is afterwards, just to see how everyone else is getting on?
No, do you know what it was? So I'll tell you a backstory to that as well, by the way. So the second last game going in, we had won, and obviously we knew we needed to win and 3 teams lose. And I actually broke my toe, by the way. I actually broke one of my toes, and word got out to Spurs that, you know, I was struggling a bit. So I got a call from Wayne Diesel at the time, was there to make it. It was like, hey, Bongs, are you struggling? How's your toe? Whatever. I'm like, listen, there's one game left. He's like, no, you need to come in. He's like, listen, you want to play the last game? I'm like, yeah, fuck, I want to play the last game. He's like, can you play? I'm like, listen, I'm going to take pain tablets. I'm playing the last game. Like, I'm going to see this thing through. So then he's like, listen, my advice is don't come in. Because if you come in and we have a look at you, we won't let you play. Like, you're not going to play. They won't send you back. So I was like, hey, I am not coming. Tell them I'm at home. They're eating ice and resting. I'll be fine. So I went back to Colchester. I didn't train, by the way. I literally only trained. And I think the last game, there was a gap of like 2-3 days, which is a lot in England. So that's your rest. And then, anyways, I chilled. The last, like pre-match training, Dean, I was literally walking because I couldn't do anything. I was on the bike the last few days, like trying to obviously keep my fitness up and stuff like that. And I remember the coach, then like the day before, he's like, hey, Bongani, you playing tomorrow? I was like, fuck, I'm playing. I'm in. He's like, hey, my friend, make sure you bring that Zulu magic. I was like, don't worry, I'll bring all of it. All my Zulu magic is coming. Don't worry, we're gonna survive. And yeah, man, like as you said, it's one of those where it's like last 2, the board comes up, last 3 minutes, we're leading 1-0. It's good to win the game, but we don't know what's happening on the other side. Eventually, we see the coaches start hugging. We're like, hey, what's going on? Like, did we survive? So you're busy asking the bench, did we survive? And also trying to hold on to like a lead here at the same time, But eventually, obviously, the whistle ended the game and, people went absolutely crazy. So that was nice. And I had a song as well at Colchester, which was pretty cool.
I was going to ask you about song because I remember your song at Doncaster. So I was going to see if they were the same songs.
Yeah, no, I did actually have a song, and I still have videos of because I obviously went to the pub often, and everyone was singing and stuff. So that was pretty cool, man. I was only there for a month. I had a lot of love, which I was grateful for. Yeah,
I always remember, and I've been singing it over and over in my head. He's magic, never get past Khumalo. That was your Donny song.
Yeah, I remember at one point. I can't remember who it was. It might have been is it Jones? Is it the big man?
Big Rob Jones.
Yeah, he's like Bongs. Just show them, just clap like they're singing your song. I'm like, what song? I was like, what song? He's like, no, like, can't you hear your name? I was so shocked. Like, I was actually so shocked. I didn't know what was going on. So
what was the song at Colchester? Was it the same?
No, it was different. It was like, what was it? Oh, it was like Bongani, he's from Africa. What? He's from Africa and he came to play for Colchester. That was one of them, but there was another one as well. So yeah, that was pretty cool, man. That was cool. So with all that said, like what was amazing for me, honestly, with that move and places I've been, it's great to get love from the fans. But what was amazing was, like the players who came to me and literally like in the midst of all the partying and the drinking and the happiness, literally pulled me aside and like, listen, yeah, mate, like honestly, thank you. Like you literally came here and you helped us. Like he says, and the guy's telling me like, look, the players that come on loan here and literally just they don't care because obviously it's not their livelihoods on the line. Do you know what I mean? So they don't care. They just come play their games and get their fitness and then go back to their clubs. They don't really put much effort in. And a few guys came to me and like, listen, like thank you. You literally you could see that like you were here to work and they were very so that was pretty cool. That was very cool. That was quite special.
So let's just talk about that because dressing rooms you've experienced a South African dressing room, you've experienced a British dressing room. What have you found? What are the differences? How have you found the two dressing rooms? Can you see a difference?
British people can't sing as well as South Africans, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's just very different. Obviously, I mean, in England, obviously the banter's real. I think that's what I've missed as well. Just the characters, everyone. I think the major difference is dressing rooms in England. Like everyone is just themselves. You'll get the big time guy who doesn't talk to anyone. You get the clown. You get the one that's quiet. Like everyone is just who they are. Whereas in South Africa, a lot of guys tend to sort of tippy toe and. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, we had Gabuza. I mean, Gabuza's unfiltered. I mean, he's one of the few. But generally, you feel guys are quite reserved and their personalities don't really come out that much. And I understand why, to be fair. I think our culture is obviously quite different in that. They are very different. But yeah, all fun, just in different ways.
So after your time at Colchester, back to SuperSport for another stint for some more success.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Did you get in touch with Stan or
Yeah.
Gordon Iggerson,
Yeah,
who was the coach at the time? How did that come around?
Long story short, there were problems, with my work permit, obviously, struggling to get a work permit, and people at the work permit were like, okay, well, where's your club? And the club's like, oh, well, we need to come see you first, and it was like, which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? But at the end of the day, it was like, no work permit, there's no club, so England is a no-go. And then from there, you look at whatever territories are out there, and then, obviously South Africa was there. I was staying with SuperSport. I was obviously there, keeping fit and in case I'd have to go somewhere. And I just ended up staying. And that's literally how it came about. Ended up staying, wasn't the greatest, obviously left after 6 months, went to Wits. Went to Wits where I was with my old father, Gavin Hunt. And got there with Gavin and obviously I knew what Gavin was trying to achieve and being there, and he hadn't won anything yet. The minute he signed me, he was just like, listen, you know why you're here, so cool. Here's the dressing room, go work. That was literally the conversation we had. And from there, we're just trying to help everyone around to just obviously help them get across the line, because I heard, they come close a few times before. And, with my time there, I got there the first 6 months, obviously finished second. And then the next year we managed to win 2 trophies, the league and the MTN8. And then the third season, a disastrous season, but still managed to win, the Telkom. So a nice little outing.
Just rewinding a little bit, because I came into SuperSport, joined you. It was a particularly tough time. We weren't performing at all in the league. Once again, I believe you were made the scapegoat because you
happens, eh?
Okay, you weren't playing great. I had a shocking start to my time at SuperSport. It was the team. We were just, as individuals, we were not performing, and the one person who took the brunt of it was you. Not I deserved as much as you did, as much as Clayton Daniels did, as much as Ronwen Williams did. We all deserved it, but you got it, and you got sent off to Wits. And I'll always remember when we played you again, just how pumped you were. Because
do you know why? And I had a conversation with Stan before I left, and obviously SuperSport, and it was the board, and the board is this and that, and I was like, okay, so I'm the reason the club's not doing well, because I've come back and apparently now I'm on big money and miracles need to happen, and it's not a good start, 6 months, and now all of a sudden, okay, cool, he must go. I was like, okay, cool, I will go. And I remember having a conversation with Stan, telling him like, oh, okay, so this is what your board said about me and this. I'm like, okay, well, watch what I'll do where I go. Just watch. He's like, no, Bongs, it's not personal. I'm like, I'm not being personal. Obviously, you brought me because you believed in me. Now you're telling me the people that support your work don't believe in me. So now I'm saying I'm going to basically protect you by showing what I'm about and what I do at another place. And that's exactly why I was the way I was. And it was so funny that when I got signed back to SuperSport, apparently the story got back. It's like, yeah, but Bongani scored against us and he was celebrating. I'm like, what do you expect? What do you expect? You told me I was done, I must leave. What do you expect? Like, I must go crawl in a corner and feel sorry for myself. Nah, you wake up and you fight, And that was my attitude. I was like, okay, cool, fine, write me off, I'll show you. It's fine. Challenge accepted. And that was literally it for me. It wasn't anything personal. It was just, obviously Stan and I go way back, since I was a kid. So I think the biggest problem with me that I had with all of that was obviously, what he said, is someone that I do trust his word, and that's what he told me. He said, his board was saying this and that about him and what he had to say about me, and I was like, okay, cool, Stan, let me go away and I'll show you. And then listen to this at the awards. I went to the awards. I'm like, and is there any word from the board? What are they saying now? It's like, no, Bongs, it's not personal. It's not like that. I was like, no, I don't forget. I don't forget. But for me, like I said, I'll still reiterate, it's nothing personal. It was purely out of, it was a challenge, it's a challenge. It was a challenge. I understand there was a lot of expectation with me coming back to SuperSport after obviously previous success, obviously being in Europe. I always knew there was going to be unrealistic, expectations, put on me. And that's fine. It is what it is. So
I want to ask you, you were obviously gone for quite a few years, but it was also the you left South Africa sort of just after the World Cup, so you saw that the way, I'm sure from the outside, the way that the PSL managed to grow in the time that you were gone. Did you notice a big difference from the sort of the PSL that you left and the PSL that you went back into?
Not really. And I say not really because remember, I would have played for a team that always had a target on its back. So I had the toughest version of the PSL anyways. Does that make sense?
I mean more from a collective perspective, not so much from the football perspective, but just the way that the league itself sort of grew.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I think when I came back, it was. I think before I left, there was obviously load shedding. I mean, there's times we play games and the lights would just go out, and then you're just chilling, waiting for kickoff, and you don't know whether it's gamesmanship or whether it's really load shedding. Like, do you know what I mean? We're playing Chiefs, we're leading 1-0, and lights go off. But I hope I don't get in trouble for that. But it literally happened. That's what happened. You play Pirates, lights go. I think the league. My experience with the league, it was always run very well. I don't remember complaining about being late for hotel or this or that or something. And obviously I didn't know any better when I started. But my point is, when I went to Europe, I obviously noticed the extreme professionalism that exists within the game. But I didn't get there and say I actually come from something that was not professional. Does that make sense? I felt the step up, definitely, massive steps. But it wasn't anything, there weren't steps that were alarming. I mean, the PSL is actually run really, really well, to be fair. Honestly, I can't complain about that. As a league, it is run very, very well.
So Bongs, just looking at where you are now, because earlier this year or before the start of the season, you announced your retirement. What are you doing with yourself now? A lot of people don't know. We want to know what you're doing with your time, how you're keeping busy. I know you're a big businessman. Can you tell us a few things what you're up to at the moment?
I wouldn't say big, but I do. I think first things first. I own my time for the first time since I was a teenager. So that's, if I've had to adjust to anything, it's that. Obviously as a footballer, you're told when to eat, when to sleep, when to go home, when to do everything. Now I own my time, so it's just about obviously maintaining the same discipline, because now you don't really have a structure per se. And I'm very fortunate in that, my work or the business that I'm involved in, we're at a level now finally where, we're obviously at the top. We've been in a privileged position to employ people with experience that run the nitty-gritties of our day-to-day work, whatever needs to be done. And we just basically, literally, we turn up in tracksuits. We chill at our little, the offices. We gave them to the people that work for us. We just literally took one office. We put couches and a TV and literally like a table with chairs, and that's where we have our meetings. We have our meetings there. When everyone needs us, we're always in there. I've got two partners, and a lot of the time we will come in around the same time, but our time's not really controlled. It's as and when you need it, and when we have meetings and stuff. There's a lot of stuff now that we're doing. We're doing donations to Africa. We're literally donating to all of SADC. So we meet with all the embassies and the ambassadors. We've done Namibia, Botswana, Sudan, South Sudan, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire. We're supposed to go to Cote d'Ivoire now in December. We're supposed to go to Mozambique. We've done Mozambique as well to meet with health ministers and so on. So, we're doing our part as a company, as a manufacturer. Obviously, masks are what we specialize in. We don't, everyone's like, but Bongs, you can't sell masks. Well, it's a little complicated than that. We don't just sell masks. We're manufacturers. We're manufacturers. That's what we are. Masks aren't the only things we manufacture. It's just what we happen to specialize in this period. And obviously the world, especially health workers, that's what they need. So we're just doing our part to help out wherever we can with that. So that's obviously the main baby. And, I've got other interests as well in terms of property and so on. But that's, that is obviously, you can call that freelancing if you want. But I like to keep busy. I like a challenge. I have a dream. You know, a lot of people be like, "Oh, you're going to be a coach. Are you going to coach this league?" You know, no one ever talks about players owning football clubs. I mean, how sad is that? Isn't that sad? Like, if you think about it. So I'm like, let me own a club and see what happens.
Have you thought about what the name would be? Would you go the South African route and name it after yourself?
Nah, I got something I'm working on. I've sent it up to the gods in a prayer. Hopefully it'll work out. But I have something. I'll talk to you guys offline. But I have some ideas. Hopefully it will work out. We'll see. But yeah, man, I always say, you know what, dream big, aim big, and see where you land. You know, you'll still land in a good place.
Look, if it's anything to go by your career, you'll be owning a club before long. I'm sure of it.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. Like I don't know. I just have certain ideas in terms of how clubs should be run and certain things and stuff that I'd like to implement. It is a passion. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But it's just a thing. Like I would really, and it's not an ego thing at all. It's got nothing to do with ego, but mostly for me, it's about opportunity. That's what it's about. 100% about opportunity.
And finally, talking about passion and challenges, you've apparently taken on golf as your new hobby. Is that how's that coming along?
Stressful. At this point, it's still stressful.
5 years I played with you in South Africa. I was desperate for you to join me on the golf course. You never came once. I leave, and all of a sudden, you're a golfer now.
I know. Listen, truth be told, there was no time because when I finish training, I go home, sleep, and then I'm busy, obviously hustling, you know, trying to make things work on the side and stuff. So I literally had no time. Now I've got the time. Now I can. I literally listen. It's so beautiful. I'll wake up. I'll go gym in my estate. After gym, zip out next door, smash a few balls, come back, shower, and then go to the factory and just, you know, see what's happening there. So that's like kind of like a little bit of my routine. If I don't go in the morning, I go in the evenings. And, you know, I've got a lot of my mates live within this area. We go mountain biking. I mean, there's beautiful trails out here. And that's literally just the lifestyle now, man. I'll probably get into like competitive mountain biking as well. But I just need to get a proper bike. Like, yo, these things are expensive, man. People didn't warn me. Golf, mountain biking. I'm like, please. You know, like, football, you just need boots and a ball. Like, you know, I mean, it's not cheap, but it's nowhere near as expensive as those two sports. Wowza.
Bongs, that is absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for your time, man. It's massively appreciated. And hopefully next time we speak to you, speaking to you as the proud owner of Khumalo FC. And then we can go from there.
So thanks, guys.
I hope you sign me up. I've got a year or two left as well.
No, don't worry. We must keep it.
Today's quickfire, Bongani Khumalo. First up, who is the fastest player you've ever played with?
I think before he got injured, I think Pakamani. Before he got injured, he was rapid.
Matlambi.
Wow, he was fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before his injury, he was rapid. Yeah, no, it was actually, it didn't make any sense. I remember one time watching TV and I was like, is that a human being? Like he was moving. And when I got to Wits, I saw it live and I was just like, wow.
Quicker than Aaron Lennon.
Aaron Lennon, you know, obviously Aaron Lennon is, you know, obviously because he's short and stocky, he's quick. But just in terms of like speed, like just athleticism, just running in a straight line, like chasing down a ball down a channel. Wow, like madness. I think Aaron Lennon, Azza was very good where he was fast with the ball as well, if that makes sense. But in terms of just seeing someone run and chase a ball, like he would literally start behind players and just run past them for fun. Like, and sometimes I honestly think he would do it on purpose, just wait and then start running. Like it was just madness, madness.
Who's the funniest player you ever played with? At all the clubs you were at, who was the funniest, the biggest character?
Wait, I think Cottrell at Doncaster and Gabuza at SuperSport.
Gabuza, yeah. We there are plans to get Gabuza on the podcast at some point because I think it would be incredible.
Oh man, that would be funny.
What a man! What a man!
Oh what a guy! He's the only reason, at this point I'll literally go to SuperSport to watch a training just to see him again. Like, you know what? I want to laugh a little. Let me go see what this guy's up to.
Best manager you ever played with?
Best manager? Yeah, I'm gonna get a shot for this, but I've been very fortunate to have had a lot of incredible managers. Obviously, Gavin Hunt gave me an opportunity, within the game, and I'll always be grateful for that. But I must say, spending time with Carlos Alberto Pereira during the World Cup was quite special. Obviously, someone who worked with the best players in the world, won a World Cup, and he was such a humble man. And I haven't shared this with people in football, but like there were times, and I look back now, and I'm just like, why would this guy? There were times where he'd pull me aside and like we just start talking, like not even about sometimes about football. In fact, a lot of the time we're about football, but the conversation would always sort of veer towards like life and like other subjects, and I honestly learned so much from him. Amazing man. Just how he saw the game. He used to talk the way he used to talk about the game. He was so clear and so precise. Like, I think that's what I appreciated the most was just his clarity in terms of how he understood the game and how he wanted us to play and certain things. It was honestly like a beautiful thing to see, man. Like the training sessions were just unbelievable. So I learned, and I remember actually going off after the World Cup. Obviously we were saying goodbye to him, and I legit went to him and I thanked him, for the opportunity. And because I knew going into a World Cup, there was a lot of politics that was against me, and I know that for a fact. I wasn't a name at the time, and I know there would have been questions like why him, like, and he stuck by me. He really did. He really did, especially after we lost. Obviously in the second game, they were defense, change this, change that, and obviously playing with a captain, guess who was going to come out? And obviously Matthew Booth was on the bench, and he would have played in the Confed Cup. So just his faith, man. I'll always be grateful for that. And I remember I went to him afterwards, and I did thank him, and I honestly said he changed my life, and he did. Not just in terms of on the pitch, but certainly off the pitch, because I learned a lot of lessons. I mean, I was with him for a good 3-4 months. We had numerous conversations. I mean, we talk about Pele. I mean, he was a fitness trainer when Pele was playing in World Cups, and man, those stories from back then, magical. I was properly inspired, honestly, properly inspired.
Amazing. And then just lastly, if you had the chance to meet any sportsman, not necessarily football, any sports person from any sport in the world, to go have dinner with them, who would you pick?
Sure. Well, that's a tough one. I think, you know what? I obviously knew nothing about golf, right? I knew nothing about golf, and I literally watched, the Tiger Woods documentary, or that's on Showmax. I literally watched it like by mistake. I was literally born. I was like, let me just see. Like, I wasn't into it at the time. It's probably the reason why I'm into it now, if I'm honest.
The tipping
I
point.
watched that, and I was actually like, wow. And bear in mind, I was watching this not knowing a thing about golf, but I could still appreciate and could see clearly why he was so special, if that made sense. And this is with me not even knowing a thing about the sport or even understanding the difficulties about it. Now I understand. Now I properly understand. And it's just, yeah, I think the only questions I would have questions, but not about necessarily about just golf, just about like life around his journey, as a kid and obviously as an adult within the sport and the challenges. Because it was amazing, like for someone to have that amount of attention in a sport where you're supposed to be quiet and you play against yourself essentially, that's just wild, man. So yeah, I'd say Tiger Woods.